Who? Caleb Plant, Canelo Alvarez, undisputed. Is it gonna happen? I'm hoping I am 100% wrong, because this is one of those situations where I'm really hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping I am just completely off base with this, you know. But I'm gonna have to say no. That fight ain't happening. It's not gonna happen. Um, at first, I thought there was a possibility of, if maybe coming through. If you saw previous videos that I put out there, basically what I said was, you know what? I'm not sure if this bout's gonna happen or not, but let's wait until he gets these 3 belts. Once he has these 3 belts, and then it's time to set up this fight with Caleb Plant, then let's see if he does it. He is working, hand in hand right now with Eddie Hearn. Before he signed with Eddie Hearn, because he signed with Eddie Hearn for a 3-fight deal. It was either a 2 or a 3-fight deal that he did with Eddie Hearn. Before that, he had something on the table with PBC, where PBC was offering him a 3-fight, $75 million deal, with obviously also with back end, but they were guaranteeing the $75 million. That's, I believe, what was it, $25 million a fight. Plus, obviously, you have back end, you have the gate, then you have the back end because they have pay-per-view. And you know how PBC is when it comes to promoting fights, things of that nature. They're great. So your gates are actually going to go up higher, and also obviously your pay is going to be substantially higher than that 25. Just because of the way that they do things. You're not paying for no crazy promoter paying him 30% or anything like that. Al Heyman doesn't take a substantial amount from your checks. He was gonna be good, but instead of doing that, what he chose to do was he chose to sign the deal with Eddie Hearn. He signed the deal with Eddie Hearn. He fought Yildirim, he fought Smith, and obviously he did the bout with Saunders. I believe he was guaranteed $20 million a fight. I'm not sure what portion of the gate he got. The first 2 bouts didn't necessarily do that great at the gate. I know even his second fight with Smith, once you take away the comp tickets, he barely sold more than Gervonta Tank Davis and Santa Cruz. Barely sold more than that bout. And when it came to the Yildirim, didn't do good necessarily with the gate with that, but supposedly he did good with the bout with Saunders in Texas. There was a lot of people over there, but haven't got any numbers of that yet. Haven't heard any numbers as far as what Eddie Hearn has said. Oh, they did a $9 million gate, all this stuff. But I don't necessarily go with that when it comes to the gates. I go by what the commission's saying. So I haven't heard anything from that. That's how we know that Tyson Fury comped more tickets than he actually sold, and that's how we know that that Canelo fight with Smith barely did more than Gervonta Tank Davis, because we were able to see what the gates were, how much money they actually made from them, and we're able to see how many tickets were comped. And obviously Earl Spence versus Danny Garcia did better than all of them, except probably the Saunders fight. I think, again, I don't know what the numbers were from that. I didn't get them. I've heard what Eddie Hearn has said, but that's it. So, but, they had a lot of people there, so I'm pretty sure they did good, with that bout. But nothing close to what he would have done if he had been on PBC. So now those fights, especially with the people who had been fighting, now that's all done. They were supposed to do a bout with Caleb Plant. It's been taking a very long time. I'm surprised it was taking so long. Eddie Hearn has come out and said that the reason why it wasn't happening was because PBC was trying to make Canelo sign a 3-fight deal, which made no sense to me, because if you look at the past and you look at how they work and how they maneuver, that's not what they do. And they'll, and that Canelo had to come to PBC in order to make this bout happen. Again, doesn't make any sense, because we've seen them do the complete opposite when it came to other fighters. Mikey Garcia has gone out and fought outside of PBC on the zone. His next fight's probably going to be on the zone as well. That's an Al Heyman PBC fighter. Even Manny Pacquiao, they were exploring Manny Pacquiao, who already still had a fight on PBC. They were exploring the possibility of him maybe even doing a fight on the zone. I'm guessing against Mikey Garcia, doing it over there, or even doing a bout against Crawford. Which I knew wasn't going to happen. I knew these people didn't have them. With the Crawford one, I knew that wasn't going to happen. With the Mikey, I knew that definitely could happen. I didn't know that they actually were exploring doing it in the zone, but they were. That fell through. But so, if you, obviously we know Andy Ruiz, they let him go ahead and fight Anthony Joshua, and that was no issue. Charles Martin, they let him go out there and fight, what's called Anthony Joshua. Whatever's in the best interest of the fighter, that's what they usually do. So that happened. So he came out there and said this didn't make any sense. And then, obviously, a couple of days later, news comes out that no. Then yes, they did offer Canelo a 3-fight deal, obviously, because, he said the people that he wanted to fight we've heard Charlo, we've heard Plant, we've heard Benavidez. So, obviously, why wouldn't you take a 3-fight deal? These are 3 people that you want to fight. You'll be in a better platform, that's better at promoting, where you're more available to a larger audience, and the rumor of words is for a $100 million plus deal, which means they're basically guaranteeing you $100 million, plus you got back end money that's coming to you as well. Plus you're going to get larger gates. And what would be the biggest fights that you could do? But I guess, they said, no, he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to do that. So I guess now we know that PBC was also willing to do a 1-fight deal. They said, no, that's fine. You don't want to do a 3-fight deal? Cool. We can do a one-off, and you can fight Caleb Plant, and we can do that too. That's absolutely fine with us as well. But now I guess we've gone from that to now where it's, Canelo doesn't want, the fans to pay for pay-per-view. And it's kind of weird that he would say that, because just a couple of weeks ago, Eddie Hearn was talking about how, Canelo's a free agent. They want him to be a free agent. He can fight these other guys on Fox. He can go to ESPN and he can fight the guys over there. I forget the guy's name, 175-pounder. He can Beterbiev. He can fight him over there. And then he can also still fight on DAZN. He has all these options, which to the other 2 entities would be pay-per-views. But somehow we went from that to, no, that's not pay. He doesn't want his fans to pay pay-per-views. Even though his last 2 fights, his last 3 fights have also been available on pay-per-view. Not just in the whole DAZN thing, but you could also go to your box and you could also order it on pay-per-view from your local provider. They made that, as an option as well. So they weren't forcing people to go to DAZN to get the DAZN app. They weren't forcing them to do that. You had that option to go buy a one-off pay-per-view to watch Canelo Alvarez. But now, all of a sudden, no, we got to do it on. You can't be on pay-per-view. Canelo doesn't want on pay-per-view. No, you have to come to DAZN to fight Canelo. You have to come to DAZN to fight Canelo. And when I see that, I'm basically seeing Eddie Hearn blueprint and how he likes to do things. He basically was talking about the 3-fight deal and how they were trying to make him, do the 3-fight deal to put out a narrative. Let's jump ahead because we know what's coming afterwards. So since we know what's coming afterwards, let's put this narrative out now. Okay, that people can see and that people can go by. Let's do that now. And from then it's going to end up, and then after that, let's talk about the different fighters he could fight. Let's talk about Beterbiev. Let's talk about him probably fighting Bivol. According to reports, DAZN has contacted Gennady Golovkin about him possibly fighting Canelo Alvarez in a 3rd fight to see if he would be available to do that as well. So, this is what they've been doing. So when you look at all these things, it pretty much falls into line with what Eddie Hearn likes to do. When they get caught into situations like this, they'll make it seem as if they're going to fight particular people. They'll make it seem as if they want to fight particular people, but then they'll end up doing what they wanted to do in the first place anyway. So due to the fact that people, the whole talking about undisputed, it was just a way to get people really interested in the fights that he was doing previous to that one. Just like when he was doing his fights previous to Undisputed for Demetrius Andrade at 160 pounds. But when it came to fighting Demetrius Andrade, never happened. All of a sudden, he let the WBC belt go, he let the IBF belt go, and that was it. So now, when it comes to this particular situation, it seems as if we're going through the same motion. The only difference is Eddie Hearn, the one that is his promoter, or the one that he's working hand in hand with. And him not fighting Plant would go in line with what Eddie Hearn would do. Eddie Hearn would be like, nah, you could lose that bout. You could lose these other bouts, which then long-term could hurt your brand. Instead of doing that, let's just do these fights. We got 3-4 easy fights we can do. You can fight, Bivol has been looking like trash, so you can do the Bivol fight. We know Gennady Golovkin is super trash. We can do that fight, and DAZN's willing to pay for those 2 bouts. So let's go ahead and just do those 2 bouts. And believe it or not, after that, they'll probably pay for Jaime Munguia. So you're looking at 3 fights where you're not going to make as much money. Actually, you're gonna lose a substantial amount of money, but you're still making 25 plus million. And maybe DAZN will even be willing to pay him a substantial amount of money to fight Gennady Golovkin because they want him to do that bout so bad that maybe with that bout they end up giving him $35 million. They end up giving him $40 million. When then you put yourself into a space where you can do basically 3 easy fights, get paid a boatload of money, and not put yourself into the same danger as you would if you took the other ones, and keep basically pimping this system that you're in, pimping these these morons that are continuously giving you these funds, even though they're not really getting anything back for it. Because Canelo fans, this is what they do. They'll buy that bout, and after they buy that bout, they will cancel their service. That's what they do. That's what they've been doing. That's what anybody's going to do when it pertains to DAZN, especially from the United States. I'm going to buy this to see this bout that I really want to see. Then after that, I'm going to cancel it. And I'll wait until they give me something else that I want to see. That's how they're going to do it. But unfortunately, just looking at the situation, looking at the way that things that are going, I don't see that. I don't see it happening. And I'm not even calling anybody scared. People are always like, "Oh, you're just a hater." Bro. I'm not calling anybody scared. Nothing like that. I just go by the people, their past, and if they're with a promoter, I go by the blueprint that promoter has followed. So if you're at Top Rank, I'm gonna think about you a certain way. If you're at DAZN, I'm gonna think, and with Eddie Hearn, I'm gonna think, I'm gonna say you're gonna do this regardless of who you are. I'll say the same things about Devin Haney. So there's nothing, exclusive to Canelo. And then when it comes to PBC, that's how I knew when they were making these reports out, it made no sense because it doesn't follow their blueprint. It doesn't follow the way that they do business. So it made no sense to me. Some other people do that, yes. DAZN does do that. Eddie Hearn does do that. Top Rank does do that. Bob Arum does do that. So yes, with them it would make sense. But with PBC, looking at the history, it didn't. But in the next couple of days, I guess. Damn, what is wrong with the way I'm talking today? Ridiculous. But in the next couple of days, probably next week or so, I guess we'll see what ends up happening. See if this bout, does come to fruition. But unfortunately, I don't see it happening. I'm seeing Gennady Golovkin versus Canelo Alvarez. I'm saying that's probably going to be next. If not that, then the Beaver bout. But I'm thinking Gennady Golovkin. But we'll see. But for now, like, subscribe, share. I'm out.